Ναι, καλημέρα και από.
Yes, good morning from me too. I am very glad to be here today. My presentation, I believe, will be a small contribution to the discussion that started during the previous session already, especially after the presentations of Mr. Damianos and Mr. Tsironis. So as you heard from the moderator of the session, I shall talk to you about the right to have a religion, to worship. The right to worship or not has existed since the 19th century in different declarations with great emphasis as a fundamental structural human right. This right is enshrined in the law of the international community with overriding provisions, as well as in international law by means of multilateral treaties. So from the international documents, the freedom of religious conscience is protected both in a positive and a negative way. That is, the freedom of the person to believe as they wish or not to have a belief is protected. The right not to believe in the divine or God, atheism, is protected according to Article 18 of the General Declaration of the General Assembly of the United Nations, November 25, 1981, for the elimination of all forms of intolerance and discriminations coming from religions or beliefs. The freedom of the person to change their religious beliefs whenever they want and however frequently they want, without any limitation whatsoever, is mentioned in Article 18 of the Ecumenical Declaration and Article 9 of the European Convention of Human Rights, the ECHR. What is also protected is the freedom of the person to manifest the religious beliefs in writing or orally, individually or in a group, and the negative form of this right is also protected, meaning that no one is obliged to reveal their convictions according to Articles 18, 19, and 20 of the Declaration, Articles 9, 10, and 11 of the European Convention of Human Rights, ECHR, 1 paragraph 6 of the Declaration of UN General Assembly. Furthermore, the freedom of association for religious purposes is protected according to Article 20 of the Ecumenical Declaration, 11 of the ECHR Convention, and 6, in 2 different paragraphs, of the Declaration of the United Nations General Assembly. What is also protected is the right of religious equality, that is, the right of people not to be unequally treated on the basis of religious criteria. This is enshrined in Article 1 of the United Nations Charter, Articles 2 and 7 of the Declaration of the United Nations, 2 and 3 of the Declaration of UN General Assembly. The right of religious education as a right of parents to bring up their children according to their religious beliefs is protected according to Articles 26, paragraph 3, and there is an additional protocol to the European Convention, and Article 2 protects this right, and Article 5 of UN General Assembly. The freedom of movement is also protected, and the free contact and communication with other persons or groups inside the country or outside the country for religious purposes according to Article 13 of the Ecumenical Declaration and 6 paragraph 6 of UN General Assembly Declaration. The right of persons not to be coerced to do something that goes against their religious beliefs is also protected. This is enshrined in Article 1 of the UN General Assembly Declaration, the right to exercise and practice one's religious duties is protected because different religions have these duties for their faithful. And of course, what is protected is the establishment of places of worship according to Article 8 of the Ecumenical Declaration, 9 of the European Convention, 1 paragraph 1, and 6 Article 6 of the United Nations General Assembly Declaration. Furthermore, in international text in Article 29 of the Declaration, Article 9, Paragraph 2 of the ECHR, and 1 Paragraph 3 of the UN General Assembly Declaration, it is stipulated that it is possible to enact limitations in the aforementioned freedoms by law of the states when there is a case of protection of public order or public safety, as well as the protection of health, morality, or fundamental rights of the totality of the population or isolated persons, provided the measures are indeed necessary for the achievement of this purpose in a democratic society. From the above clause, we can deduce that no state can invoke as an excuse to establish limitations or curtailments of the above freedoms any of these reasons if the same result can be achieved by other means, or if the measures taken go against the purpose for their enactment. A great role in the safeguarding of respect of human rights and the right to worship or not is played by the European Court of Human Rights. It has a prolific case law that is an invaluable tool for the interpretation and conceptualization of international documents. In the Greek legal order, paragraph 1 of Article 13 of the Greek Constitution establishes the non-violation of a person's religious conscience. The freedom of religious conscience is an aspect of a more personal, innermost freedom of the person, the freedom of conscience. The freedom of conscience cannot be separated from our existence, and it is a freedom that does not bother or should not bother anyone else because it has to do with ourselves and only ourselves. Over time, theory accepts that this freedom consists of the parameters we mentioned already. The right of religious education is of great importance because it is a right to bring up and educate minors, and on the other hand, it gives right to the establishment of educational school according to Article 6 of the Greek Constitution. Another important aspect is the right of persons not to be coerced to do something or omit something and go against their own religious beliefs. Over time, Christianity has been deeply connected with science, so it is useful to accentuate the contribution of Christianity to the lifting of deification of nature, as we saw in paganism. So nature is no longer a pagan deity, but we look at it as the house of God, the ecos of God. And this led to scientific research, modern technology, and artificial intelligence. Orthodox theology expresses concerns about the unbridled, uncontrolled artificial intelligence, but this doesn't mean that it goes against digital and scientific research. In Orthodox anthropology, the human person and the freedoms of human beings are accentuated. The exhortation is not towards prohibition, but towards emphasizing values, and therefore the Church is not against the creation of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence asserts a definitive role in or functional practices of certain religions. There are indeed robots, priests that officiate Tekosen, headquartered in Poland, in Warsaw in particular, has created a robot. Santo is the name. This robot measures 43 centimeters and looks like a statuette representing a saint inspired by the classical Roman Catholic architecture with the arms lifted in the air. It wears a white cloak, and around the head of this robot there is a halo. The Santo robot uses machine learning. It is clear artificial intelligence, and this is indeed a computer that has a microphone, sensors, a camera, can identify faces, and finally it has a digital voice. As against the Buddhist priest Minda, Santo has in its program a great part of the Roman Catholic theology, enabling it to give answers to different theological questions that the congregation asks, quoting the Holy Scriptures. And the robot can recognize people asking questions, and it recognizes them by the way they move and the way they look. The goal of Santo, according to those that created it, is to help elderly people who are faced with disabilities, mobility problems, or other health problems, preventing them from access to church or social contacts. The priest robot, according to its manufacturers, appears to have been accepted quite widely. However, the Roman Catholic priests have indeed welcomed it with a lot of reservations. Regarding these innovations, theology needs to analyze more exhaustively whether in this way we are indeed salvaging the person, and if through technology and priest robots we have the human person, and if we can have a digital humanism, but this time through its liturgical use. For this reason precisely, it is important to make a distinction between artificial intelligence and humans. Artificial intelligence cannot be regarded as something in the likeness of God, but in the likeness of human beings, because it was created by human beings. But this doesn't mean that we should demonize it and discard it altogether. Man, according to Orthodox Christian theology, has freedom from God through the human creation. So the Eucharistic practice is a connection between the person and God, and between the person and society. It constitutes the prevalent person that functions in nature. As the late but not forgotten Professor Nikolaos Matsoukas said, it's important to talk about the body and the blood of Christ. This falls within the general scientific and social framework in communion with God, and it has to do with the unity of the Church with society, that is, the faithful. Furthermore, in the Orthodox Church, there is not intermediate priesthood, because nothing created can actually replace the uncreated by God. Therefore, in the sacrament of Holy Eucharist, a person with a gift is the only one that can use the gift representing creation. The same cannot be done by computer machines and robots that were created by human beings to better their lives. The person in the sacrament of Holy Eucharist experiences a connection and the mutual perichoresis between the person, the community, and God, making the Holy Eucharist an experience as against Protestant confessions that are quite favorable to any technological, cultural, religious, and finally capitalistic, globalized, modernistic idea and application, which is something that leads to the manifestation of an anti-clerical trend. Furthermore, creating a model of life based on artificial intelligence, cultivating the growth for the continuation of earthly life, not as a body, but as a conscience in a robotic body, the sacramental experience of God changes and is corrupted and becomes a worship of technology through the internet, and it becomes a digital worship of artificial intelligence, trying to make AI and religions that endorse it look like traditional religions. In the surface alone, we need to remember the principles of Kant and resort to them at times. At the beginning of utilitarianism, the principle, of utilitarianism, variety, legacy, we need to revisit the fundamental question: to what extent should a society set its own goals so as to serve the best interest of society? In this way, we arrive at the conclusion that programmers and developers themselves need to define beforehand the limits of the machine, that is, to contemplate whatever negative a machine can do and correct this beforehand. Because if this does not happen, it is only certain that a time will come whereby machines will set their own limits, if they set their limits, with consequences that we can't even fathom today. Thank you very much.